going and persevering and finish the course. Shaul, rabbi, the rabbi from Tarsus named Paul, who was blinded by the light and then given a prophecy. And he's going to be a chosen vessel to be used for God's glory, to bring salvation to the nations. And what happens? Murderous plots against him. Even in Jerusalem, the believers are careful about him. He's got to flee again in Jerusalem. Then he goes to the nations. What does he get? Not glory, opposition. He's arrested. He's beaten. He's put in prison. He's chained. He's stoned. He's shipwrecked. He's betrayed. He's plotted against. Even his own people don't appreciate him. And it doesn't look like he's changing the world. He sees through a dark prison cell darkly. And he's got to hold on to the word. And he's got to still stand to the promise. And you see that in Paul's life. Even near the very end in prison, he's holding on. He says, the Lord gave me this word. So the people of God, the builders of the second temple, are given a promise, a word from the prophets, from an earlier generation of prophets. Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jerusalem, Daniel. Jerusalem will be rebuilt. God's glory will shine on this city. And it will be the glory of God will come to Zion again. And what do they set out to do? And what happens? Obstacles, setbacks, delays, discouragement, impossibilities, seeing the ruins, weeping over Jerusalem, and the opposition and their own apathy, their own distractions, their own mistakes. The work on the second temple comes to a standstill. For 15 years, it sits. Nothing happening with God's purposes. It looks like the plans of God, the promise of God, of the glory of the temple seems gone. But then the prophets come. God sends them new prophets, calling to them, telling them, saying, remember the promise. Remember the calling. Remember the visions. Remember the dream. Remember the word I gave you. And get up, get back to the call, put God's house above your house, put my will above your will, pick up your tools, pick up your sword, get to it, press on, press forward, and finish the charge I gave you. Build the house of God. It's going to happen anyway. He's saying, but it's to happen through you. If Abraham gave up when the going got tough, there'd be no Israel from him. If Joseph gave up in his dungeon, there'd be no Jewish people saved through him. If David gave up when he was hunted down and despairing and depressed, instead of talking to his soul and saying, soul, stop it, get hope again, there would be no throne or dynasty of David, and Messiah would have come through someone else. If the disciples gave up, they would not have changed the course of world history. God could have taken somebody else, but they would not have done it. You see, this is the way it is. The purposes of God are always opposed. It began with the archangel, and then in the Garden of Eden. God had a purpose for man, for creation, that it would be filled with his glory, filled with his presence, filled with his love, filled with his blessings. But those purposes were opposed and hindered and blocked and made impossible by sin. And our lives are evidence of that. We are born in a world and into lives where its purpose is blocked up, hindered, frustrated, unattainable. We feel before we know God that there's something more, but we can't attain it. But God never leaves it like that. He's the God of accomplishing the will of God, even if it means doing the impossible. Even if it means the promise is dead, he's the God of raising the dead and the dead promise. Even if his promise has become a valley of dry bones, he's the God of raising up those dry bones and putting them together. Even if it means his own death to bring life to the promise, to give one impossibility, that is, that God could die, to bring about another impossibility, the resurrection. He's the God of second chances. He's the God of the second covenant. That's the covenant of second chances. That's what it's all about. Your salvation, your being born again, is the second chance of Adam. We have a second chance at life, at fulfilling the plan of God. A second chance of living out the promise that this creation was meant to live out from the beginning. For you becoming the person God planned for you to become from the beginning of time. A second chance for glory. That's what it was. When the leper was healed, the blind man was given vision by Messiah. It was like Adam given a second chance from the fall. That's what it was when the outcast came to Messiah, when he forgave the sinner. He made the crippled man walk. It was like Adam was crippled and now he's walking again. Like Adam was the sinner, but now he's forgiven. It was not the first temple that was of the glory that God promised. It was the second temple, the temple of the second chance. God has a plan and God has a purpose. He gives a promise, he gives a call. That call is opposed and hindered and made impossible. But it's what happens after that promise looks dead. That's where the action is. That's where the new covenant is. The Lord said the time is coming in Jeremiah 31. The time is coming when I will make a Brit Hadashah, a new covenant with the house of Israel and Judah. Not like the one I made them when I took them out of Egypt. They broke that covenant. It is broken. But now I am making a covenant of the second chance. Even the second temple itself. Why was there a second temple? Because the first temple was destroyed because of the sin of the people. The people turned away. The promises of God, the purposes of God were like cut. But the purposes of God were still there for Israel. The prophecies of God were still there that a Messiah is going to come, that salvation is going to come to Jerusalem. So there had to be a second temple, a rebuilding for that day. Look at Israel. Israel's back in the world. Why? Because the purposes of God are not finished. Messiah came, redemption was given, the gospel was entrusted. Israel was to be a light to the world. But the enemy got in. They turned away from him. They lost their mantle, and for 2,000 years, gone was the glory of God. The land was devastated. The people were crushed. But God never lets it rest there. When God gives a word, he intends on making it happen. He intends on keeping his word. So the enemy did everything he could to stop the plans of God by blinding the people of Israel who were called to be the first messengers of the gospel and keeping them from returning to God and from returning to the land. But God never leaves it there. What he starts, he intends to finish. He's the God of second chances. So he brings back the children of Israel to the land of Zion a second time, where they are back. Why are they back? They're back to finish what was started. Only a remnant took up the mantle the first time, the disciples, the apostles, but they changed the world. But it was never finished. So now they are back to finish the call. They don't know it, but God does. He who began a good work with Israel will be faithful to bring it to completion. You have the book of Acts. This is now to be Acts